Hi guys, good morning. Michael here with another episode of Into the Light. And today we'll dive into the advantages of shooting RAW format, how it can revolutionize your photography. Whether you're a beginner, a seasoned photographer, or a complete noob, RAW format offers flexibility and control over your images like never before.
You, join me.
While I break down the key reasons why shooting RAW is essential and demonstrate image quality, editing, and dynamic range.
After the B-roll.
What is RAW and how it differs from a JPEG? So we're going to do a side-by-side comparison, and then we're going to drop into the technical part of the video. And at the moment, let me just give you a bit of context on what the RAW is. RAW, shooting RAW, what is that? First of all, what is a RAW file? Essentially, it's an uncompressed and unprocessed file that gathers all the details from your camera sensor. Unlike JPEG, which compresses and processes directly upon shot, the RAW is able to retain the full potential of what your camera captured, giving you a much more granular control during the post-processing or editing phase. Think of a JPEG as an already processed dish with all the ingredients already set in place and cooked and processed, cut and sliced and diced. You can enjoy it, but the reality is that RAW is like having all the ingredients before they're actually prepared, allowing you to make tiny little granular adjustments later down the road. Let's now dive into the technicals. So what we got is the same picture. One is a RAW file, the other one is a JPEG file. So DNG is a RAW file. Now, they're both exactly the same image. One is shot with a RAW, the other one is shot with a JPEG. Focus, everything is exactly the same. So in here we have the RAW file, zoomed a bit. We can see there's not bad quality, 800%. Let's try to do the same on the JPEG. Already at this resolution, it's a bit off. So if we compare it side by side like this, we can try to extrapolate the differences between one and another, and the idea is to observe the direct difference between the RAW and the JPEG in terms of image detail and resolution. So to conclude the side-by-side comparison, we can observe clear differences on resolution aspects between a RAW and the JPEG. Now let's talk about the advantages of shooting in RAW format. First, RAW files have a higher dynamic range. What does that mean? Well, you will capture more details in the shadows and in the highlights. This is especially helpful for landscape photographers shooting in conditions with high contrast settings. Sunrises, dawns, sunsets. You also get far more color in RAW, mainly because JPEG uses 8-bit depth while in RAW can go up to 12, 14 bits of color depth. While RAW can easily go to 12 to 14-bit color depth, this translates that you can work with millions of colors in post-processing. And down to the technicals. So here we are. There's two pictures. One is JPEG. This one, let's flag it as bad. This one is a DNG, so it's a raw file. Give it 3, so we can differentiate. So the purpose of this is to show the ability to bring details out of darkness or to blacks, underexposed situations, and to rectify light conditions, exposure, highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. While in JPEG, we're pretty much limited on doing so, because it's already compressed and processed, and we cannot touch any of these in the proper way. So, pretty much Lightroom with light exposure tab that allows you to actually bring up or down shadows, blacks, whites, and highlights. So compensating for underexposure and overexposure. You want to bring back the detail to a balance level. Let's bring the details from the shadows. You can see there's very interesting detail that we can actually recover. And so this is just a tiny little example on why RAW allows you to actually rectify details, bring balance into under-saturated and oversaturated conditions, and the reasons why in JPEG it's tricky to achieve the same results. So in this chapter we will talk about post-processing power. When it comes to editing, RAW files offer much greater flexibility. You can recover details from shadows, adjust highlights, or completely change the white balance with minimal quality loss. JPEGs, on the other hand, are already processed, meaning you will lose some of that ability. Let's go for a quick example. Alright, so let's cover some example here. Bit of practicality. So this is the files that pretty much are a focus that I'm working on in Mushroom. And we're going to choose this file and we'll start post-processing it. Dropping exposures. Bringing up details on the blacks. Tuning it a bit, and much better. You can see the histogram, it's pretty much centered. All right. So this just covers the light post-processing. And this is before and after. On this section, we will dive into RAW workflow. Quick RAW workflow on how to import and export for social media purposes or for your own printing solution. Shooting RAW does require some additional steps in your process. You will need to convert the file after being post-processed with the rectifications of light, color, tonality that you will seek into JPEG and TIFF files, for example, which allows you to share them on social media and print them. This might sound like extra work, but trust me, the creative freedom it gives you is totally worth it. Programs like Lightroom, Capture One, or even open source free alternatives like Darkable which is one of my favorites. Make it really easy to actually manage and edit the RAW files. Once you get the hang of it, it will become second nature. And then you can rock! Let's dive directly into a fast example.
So we click on the export. We have several options to export to. We just choose one that's suitable. Make sure all the configurations are as we require. And we just click export.
So when to use RAW versus JPEG? With all this information that we got, different scenarios and different environments require from us the usage of different techniques. Casual photography versus landscape photography versus astrophotography, completely different issues, so different subject matters, where technicality is. So should you always shoot RAW? Ideally, yes. Especially when you want the best quality, like during professional shootouts, or when you plan to do a lot of post-processing, like focus stacking, astrophotography, just to name a few. But there are times where JPEG is perfectly fine. Like for example, for casual snapshots, or if storage is an issue. If you're shooting hundreds of quick photos and don't plan to edit them heavily during the post-process phase, JPEG can save you a hell of a lot of time, space, and patience. But when image matters, RAW is the way to go. Alright, so that's why shooting RAW is such a powerful format for photographers. It might take a bit more effort to manage those files, especially when you have a Fujifilm GFX 100 where each file is 150 megabytes. But the payoff in terms of image quality and flexibility is huge. If you find this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips, tutorials, and gear reviews. Also, feel free to drop a comment below and let me know, what do you shoot, RAW or JPEG, and why? Let us know. In the meantime, let's rock!